This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Good morning to all of you from me, Judith Briles, the Book Shepherd, and the AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast and community. And with us today is the fabulous Debra Jason. Debra was with us, it seems like a bajillion years ago, where we did a very hot podcast on Instagram. And Debra is an author. She works with authors. She helps them with marketing strategies. She also is her book that you can grab, which I'd recommend on Amazon, The Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget, which isn't that what we all love in the first place? So not just frugal, we're talking shoestring here. So Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget. She is one of my colleagues here in Colorado, and I love it that she is punchy, to the point. She is very up to date on really what's going on in the social media world. What we're going to be talking about today is marketing, but with a twist. Marketing during turbulent times. Right now we are in turbulent times, and let's face it, they can hit any time. And when things are not going well for you, it feels pretty turbulent. So it doesn't have to be a pandemic. It doesn't have to be that your books didn't arrive and you've got this classic event. Turbulent can be just about anything when things just aren't going for plan A. So we're going to give you plan B, C, D, and maybe Z today as we talk about marketing strategies during turbulent times. So Debra, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Judith. It's always a pleasure to be back again. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, once again, here we go. All right. So certainly this has been the year of the COVID. And I've had people say to me, Debra, wouldn't you love to just start this year over? And I said, heck no. Let's just move forward, which right. I think we should be saying that you got to keep moving. You know, if you can run into a speed bump, if you let that speed bump topple you and you stay down, that's not marketing in turbulent times. You got to keep going. So what's some things that we could say, Debra, that would work?
Well, I want to take a step back as to when this actually all came together when I started talking about marketing in turbulent times.
Yep.
Because that was at 9/11, and I have a business as a copywriter. And when 9/11 hit, I had clients calling me going, stop the project. I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm not going to do any marketing. I don't want to spend any money because I don't know what's happening in the world. And my advice back then, which was 19 years ago, was this is not when you stop marketing. This is when you want to stay visible, keep your message out there, and stay top of mind. Because when times get tough, if you stay visible, then people will remember you when the good times return. And now we fast forward to COVID, and not only were people scared, but people were told they had to shut down their business. They couldn't just lay people off. They had to close their business. And gratefully, some of that is coming back. But it's still very important that you stay visible and that you show people that you're still there. And one of the important things that comes up is people go, okay, well, I'm panicking. I'm worried. What am I going to do? But I actually tell people this isn't a time to worry about your needs, but to look at your audience. And what do they need? How can you address their concerns? Because you may have heard me say this more than once in other shows where we've talked, Judith, but marketing is about building and nurturing relationships.
Absolutely.
During this time, I think it's even more important. I mean, life is about relationships, but during this time, I encourage people to be what I call a compassionate marketer, which means, tell me if this has happened to you. I'm guessing when I've done this presentation, it's happened to many people. Back in March and April, you started to get emails from people that said, how are you doing during this challenging time? I hope you're doing okay. But by the way, buy my stuff. I've got something I want you to buy. So they started out sounding like they were compassionate, but then they quickly went into, I'm not really all that concerned about you. I want to share what I have to sell. So I remind people of a quote from Martin Luther King, which is, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. A heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. So, as we start to continue this conversation about, what can people do to market themselves and how can they be compassionate marketers, I want to encourage everyone to first think about what's one way that you can serve. What can you do to help people during this time? And by the way, you can do it without spending a lot of money, without breaking the bank. So one of my very first suggestions to people happens to be, I don't think you'll be surprised, that they can present a podcast or a webinar and share their expertise. So if you are an author and you've written a book in the financial world, you can share something about how to save money during a crisis. Or if you are writing a book about beauty and self-care, you can share how do you care for your skin during stressful times. So there are many things that, and Judith, you can probably tell me more than anyone, that there are tons of podcasts out there.
There's tons. Well, we're not quite at 1 million, but, it's a good 800,000, Deborah, that are.
So there's a podcast on any subject just about, would you say?
Absolutely. So everyone, you just go to the Google, and you can just say what podcasts are on fill in the blank. And just see what pops up.
And, you are amazing because you've been doing this now for a while. But some people say, well, I don't really want to host my own podcast. And my response to them is then, okay, be a guest.
Absolutely.
I'm very fortunate. You've invited me back several times to be a guest. I don't host my own podcast. And so for people that want to be a guest, there's a couple of things that I tell them. One, you could go to radioguestlist.com, and there's a free version and a paid version, but you can find people who are looking for guests, for podcasts, for webinars. They're looking for guests for all kinds of things. The other point that I make is if you reach out to those people, and Judith, you probably have had this happen to you. Someone has reached out to you and said, I want to be a guest on your podcast. Well, that's great, but share with that host what value do you bring to their listeners? Not just like, oh, well, I'm great. I wrote a book. I have 30 years of experience. But what value will you bring to the people who are going to listen to that podcast? Because that goes back to how can you serve?
And, I'll add to that. You really, please honor the host and the podcast and take 1 minute to read what their podcast is about. 1 minute. Because I have to tell you, Deborah, I have been pitched unbelievable things, and clearly they have no idea that we
what
are
your podcast
authors.
is about.
They have no idea what our audience is, what our demographics are. So it's always fascinating to me with that. And, another ad, because, here we are, where fall is fast approaching for all of us, and that in my recent 7 a.m. coaching, I do a Friday coaching at 7 a.m. Every week, and I just said I'd like to talk about gratitude. Just kind of the theme of what you're talking about. So it's just, it's sitting around at Thanksgiving, what we are grateful. What are you grateful for right now today? In your business, with your customers, with what your books do, what they mean, what your words deliver. And start thinking about things that you can just create for other people as a thank you to them. And just send it out. Create posters. Someone said, well, I have a wonderful poem. And I said, send it to your entire list and say, I'm just thinking of you. I'm just thinking of you. And I'm telling you, you're going to get a gazillion miles out of this.
Well, and I love that, because one thing that I'm a big proponent of is sitting down and writing a handwritten note and putting it in the mail. Not a text, not an email. And yes, you could do those. But guess what? People's mailboxes are not as full as they used to be, because now their email inboxes are full. So when you sit down and write a handwritten note, it's so much more impactful. And like you said, just, I'm thinking of you. How are you doing?
Okay, so I'm now gonna coattail back on you, because you have kissed on one of my pet peeves. that authors, and we are 1 minute away from our first break, but authors, you have got to be invisible so people can send you a handwritten note. I can't tell you, Deborah, the frustration I've had trying to track someone down from their phone number to their email to, because you go to their website, if you can find that baby, and and then they have a contact thing, and it basically says, who are you? What's your email? And what do you want? Now I'm being a little crude. It's nicer done than that. But,
But you're true. It's harder to find people's snail mail addresses these days.
Oh, it's so difficult. Mine's all over the place. If you go to my contact page at thebookshepherd.com, it leads off. If you're impatient, here's my phone number. If you love snail mail, here's my address. If you blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. All right, we're going to be right back with This is Fabulous Debra Jason. We're really talking about marketing on a shoestring budget.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right. So with us is Debra Jason, and we are really looking at marketing on a shoestring, during turbulent times, but we're going to be pulling a lot of goodies from Debra's wonderful book. And it is Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget, which is available on Amazon. So what we really want to do is, we jump in and look at some of these things. So I actually wrote down, because she brought one of my favorite words right now, compassion, and compassionate, engagement, influence, and gratitude. I threw in gratitude into the mix. So one of the tips I'll be tweeting out when this show is live is essential tips for busy authors, how to engage in compassionate marketing. And then I added, Debra, I hope you approve, you bypass the hard pitch. You bypass your hard pitch. It's not by me.
Yes.
It's not by me. So,
it's, we all have to make a living. We all have bills to pay, or a mortgage, or groceries, or things like that. So we do need to sell, but that's not where you start the relationship. Business relationships, if you think about it, come from knowing people, liking people, and trusting people. And when you know, like, and trust that person, then you will want to do business with them, or they will want to do business with you. And once you've built that and nurtured that, then comes either referrals, which leads to business, or the actual purchase. But to start a relationship, you and I have talked about LinkedIn. Many people go on LinkedIn and send out a connection request, and it says, oh, I see that you are, an author, and I can show you 6 ways to make, 10 times your income with your book. And that's before they ever got to know who you are. They just saw on your profile that you're an author, and they're pitching you. And even emails. I got one yesterday. It's like, Debra, did you get my message the other day about, how I can help you, blah, blah, blah. I forget what he was pitching. And I'm like, I'm not even your market. If you'd done your research, you'd know whether or not I was a good client for you. But never mind the fact that I don't know who you are. So really take that time to, reach out, make those connections, but then engage with that person, and from a sincere point of view, find out who they are and whether or not there is, a relationship there that can maybe develop into a client or a customer, but it might just develop into someone who becomes a good friend, someone who becomes a referral, somebody that becomes an affiliate, a partner in something that you can do together. So just, that whole thing about buy my stuff. Yes, we do want to sell things, books in particular, but first build and nurture the relationship. So somebody says, I do want what Judith has. I do want what Debra has, because, I know them, I like them, and I trust them. So let's go into another way that you can market yourself.
Yeah, let's just kind of roll them out for everybody.
Roll them out. So, whether you present a webinar or a podcast as a host or as a guest, once you've done that, you can then repurpose that content and repurpose it into an article. So that article might be something that you put on your blog. It might be something you post as an article on your LinkedIn profile. Or it could be something that you reach out to a publication, like I did when I rewrote Marketing in Turbulent Times back in April, I think it was, after COVID hit. I rewrote it, and I reached out to a business publication and said, I think you might be interested in this. I think your readers might want to know how they can stay visible during crazy times like this. And they published it. Then I reached out to, I'm also a speaker, I reached out to a client of mine that has a publication, and I said, here's this article I wrote, Marketing in Turbulent Times. I will tailor it to your audience so that it speaks specifically to what they're doing and can be doing. And they published it. So think about what's one topic that you can present on a webinar or a podcast, and then repurpose that into an article. Because that helps you convey your knowledge about a specific subject, Okay, it enhances your professional reputation in your industry, whether it's within your professional industry or your personal community. And then the obvious one is it gets your name out to a broader audience. And guess what? It doesn't cost you any money. Okay, it's something that you can do just by repurposing the content. And as Judith, you do this really well. She pulls out, and she mentioned it earlier in this call, content from that and makes a tweet and tweets it out. Mm-hmm. And then, it goes back to it with a link to the article or to the podcast. So there are many ways to repurpose. I'm just talking about one, which is your article, but then you can use it in social media, in tweets, in memes, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you're posting, wherever your audience is hanging out.
Mm-hmm. So let me add to that, because this is something, as Debra says, we do quite a bit. I am a huge fan of repurposing. Maybe I'm part of the repurposing queen, but that, first of all, any of you who have been blogging for a couple of years, you got some old blogs. Let's do a makeover. Change your bullet point arrangement, change your title, change your first paragraph, maybe add a new little teeny section to it and push it out as a blog again. Then you're going to take it to LinkedIn and you're going to publish it. Then I'm going to suggest you go to Medium and you publish it there. Then you're going to create several tweets off of it or Facebook postings that'll link back to where it rests on your blog page to let people know how they tie it in. And you bring in your hashtags and all those other goodies that are important. How about pulling a key line and go to Canva or something like BookBrush and create an awesome poster? We push that out. There are so many things you can do that don't cause brain damage. And, Debra, I'm all for reducing brain damage in marketing.
Yes, because it can get overwhelming, and totally. There's so many things you can be doing, and people go, oh, my God, I can't do it all. And that sort of ties into what we're going to talk about next, which is social media, because I've had so many people, when I do presentations, say, okay, you're talking about Instagram, you're talking about Facebook, you're talking about LinkedIn. I can't do it all. And they're right. You can't do it all, especially when you feel overwhelmed. What I encourage people to do is pick one. Pick one where your audience is and one that is something you like doing. Many people go, well, I can't stand, these days a lot of people aren't really digging Facebook that much. I'm like, okay, so then don't do it. Go to Instagram or go to Twitter or go to, I haven't done it yet, but TikTok or whatever floats your boat, where you feel comfortable, where your audience is listening or watching, and that you feel like you have fun doing it. Mm-hmm. So that will help you reduce the overwhelm and will also help you focus a little bit more on where you want to spend your time. As well as I do, that there are tools where people can schedule stuff. So you can, instead of feeling like you need to do something every day, go into a scheduler and schedule it so it posts every day, mm-hmm. or however many times you want.
Debra, I'm so glad you said that, because that is one of the biggest overwhelm factors with social media. Truth be told, I mean, I have so many posts that go out during the day. Now also truthiness, I have a virtual assistant, but I write all the content. And the only time I only go up and look on my social media manager once a week. And that if I spend 30 minutes max, that's it. Is I'm kind of reassembling. I'm doing a couple of testing things. I might want to be getting posts up because I want the shorteners on them, and see how they're looking. I'm just testing, and then I'm done. And they get scheduled out, and then I turn, the master list of stuff I've made over to my assistant, and I never touch it again. And I think that if y'all can get into some kind of a habit of variation, of not thinking you have to do this daily, you will save some brain cells. Just saying. Yes, I agree. And when we're talking about staying visible in turbulent times and how can you do it cost effectively, there's a study that comes out every year called the Social Media Marketing Industry Report. Mm-hmm. And it says that the top reason
that people use social media is to generate more exposure for their business. 86% of the people that are surveyed say that. In the top 5, number 5 is improving sales. And actually, to tell the truth, it's only been in the last couple of years that improving sales even reached the top 5. So keep that in mind, that when you're doing social media, it's a great way to get that exposure, to increase traffic, not to your social media stream, but to your website. Because as you and I have just been saying, if you do a tweet, you link it to that podcast or you link it to that blog post. Okay? So then you can, over time, start to generate qualified leads and, really important, develop loyal fans, people that keep coming back to see what you're posting. Now, that brings us to the question of people say, well, what do I share on social media? And we've already actually kind of talked about it. One thing you share is the link to the webinar or the podcast that you've been on, whether you're a guest or a host. You can share short tips from the article that you created or the book that you've written. You can share quotes from your book. You can share video clips, and we'll talk about video in a little bit. Inspirational memes, people love those, and really important, especially for authors, testimonials. Those are all great things that you could be sharing on social media, because a lot of people go, I don't know what else to share. Start writing down a list.
You know, you're in my head. This is the discussion I had with 20 authors this morning. And
I was in your head then?
You're in my head. Because that's exactly that, you know, what do I share? Well, everything, actually, that connects with what you do. But that it's always amazing to me, Debra, that they don't get how incredibly valuable, and maybe you want to kiss on that because we're going to take our next break here in a few secs, but that how incredibly important it is to drive people to your website and give them something so you snag their name and email. This is your gold mine. This is the gold mine, and it always amazes me the reluctancy, or either the reluctancy or the mediocrity. It's either the one or the other. Rarely do I really see a stellar lead-in magnet or an opt-in, whatever you want to call it, that is designed exactly to get the name and the email. And then you're not pitching your stuff, you're giving them stuff. You're giving them stuff. We're going to be right back. Debra Jason is with us. It's AuthorU, Your Guide to Book Publishing, and I'm Judith Briles.
This is Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Congratulations on getting your book published. The effort you put into your work is truly commendable. But what's next? What will happen to all the knowledge you have worked so hard to acquire to produce your book? Here at TogiNet Radio, we can provide you a platform to keep your knowledge working for you through the power of podcast. The subjects our podcasts cover are as varied as the grains of sand on a beach. From life coaching to military resources to business success, even to the paranormal. We have a place for everyone. To get started on your next step, call Scott at 903-787-5880 or email him at scott@toginetradio.com. That's SCOTT at TOGINETRADIO.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so we exited talking about opt-ins, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, and Debra and I are going to come back and do-si-do with it.
The do-si-do, that we were discussing is how many people don't really know what an opt-in is, or if they do, what they put on their website is sign up for my newsletter. Mm-hmm. You and I both agree that, that's not very enticing, because how many people are going, I'm trying to clear out my inbox. I don't want to get another newsletter, So what do you have that's enticing? That's something, again, going back to compassionate marketing. What do you have that's of value, that serves your audience, that you can offer to them for free, that makes them say, oh, I want this bad enough that I will give you my name and my email.
Exactly. So it's a gift. There's no buy here. It's a gift. So, and then I do want to add on one other thing here, that I'm a big believer in doing a drip opt-in, which is you give the main enchilada with it, but a couple of days later, and I usually do a 3-day later, I send them something else that is connected, but it's also another freebie. And then 3 days later, I send them another, and 3 days later, I send another, because it's going to come back into what Debra's saying, that their engagement is really important. They have to, you want to build a trust relationship. And when you incorporate that word, the C word, compassionate, into it, is that they're realizing you're not pitching, you're not selling, you're trying to help them, you're giving them information. You're going to be so ahead. You'll be so ahead. I guarantee it.
I love that, because there is something called a funnel once you have captured that email, that you start to send that person messages like you said. But again, some of the mistakes that people make is once they've captured the email and they send out the freebie, then they start pitching. Mm-hmm. Instead of following up and just saying, hey, did you read that report, and didn't you find the tip on page 3, valuable? Have you put it into action? And I love what you're just saying, which is you send them something else that's still a value, that's still free. So that's a great way to nurture the relationship, because then they're going, wow, Judith is giving me so much.
Mm-hmm. The current, we're going to put up the LCC, and my current opt-in is on my website, deals with media. How to connect with the media, how to gain publicity, how to get on a podcast. So it's like 6 pages. Then 3 days later, they get a whole thing. All right, this, tying it in using your deal, your formula of, if being in the media and getting publicity is your mitts, here are 7 tips on how to pitch yourself and who to pitch it to. And then I have another piece that rolls out. It says, okay, you're booked. Here are things that you would do to enhance your engagement, including create questions and send to them, all that kind of stuff to do. And then the last thing, if I remember, it is, how dealing with your voice. If you're on live TV, the dressing episode. What happens if the host, and also I say, the host doesn't read your book. You're lucky if they look at the back cover. All right. So what happens if they have their agenda and they sabotage you? So here are tips how to take control of the interview. So that's what that, my current opt-in, which I will then move to my resource page. Or here's another idea I'm going to do here, marketing. I am going to turn it into a small publication that I might sell for $3, something like that, and put it up there as a product. So that's something else that you all can do. It is, you don't have to give everything away for free. After all, you do have to pay the bills.
Right. And there's a cool tool. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I've only just recently started using it called Designer, and it's DESIGNRR, and I believe it's .io. And it's a tool that you can create beautiful ebooks with. It's, I think, $27 a year, or at least there was a special price for it. So that you can take those, and they have templates, you can take that article or that freebie and turn it into, like you're saying, an ebook and put it up for $2.99 or 99 cents or whatever you feel works for you. But that's another way to turn something and repurpose something into not just a lead generator, but something that then generates, a little bit of income here and there, depending how popular it gets.
So have you played with that tool? By everyone, it is designed like DESIGNRR.io. I-O.
Yes. I've used it. So I have a freebie called oh God, this is terrible. The website's getamazingfreepublicity.com, and it's a link to a free report about press releases. And I used it to redesign that freebie. And so it has a really beautiful cover and then the content and back cover that makes it look more like a book than what I originally put up there, which was a PDF file. I mean, it translates into a PDF file, but it looks so much nicer than what I originally created. It looks more professional. So I've used it for a couple of books, and just talking about it now made me think, I have another piece I can go in there and turn it into. It's fairly easy to use. There were some glitches in the beginning, but I believe one of the gentlemen who's the founder, was actually willing to get on a call and walk me through some stuff. So I would give it a shot. There are, higher levels of pricing for it. But for right now, if that's what you want to use it for, is just turning, some content, a Word document into a really nice PDF, it works fairly smoothly.
Well, the subtitle, I'm looking at while Deborah's talking, the subtitle is Create eBooks and Lead Magnets. Lead Magnets is like an opt-in to reach more people. So, lead magnet could be a series. Maybe you have a whole, let's go back to your blog. Let's go back to where we started, Deborah, repurposing. All right. So let's look at all these blogs you have. I bet you there is a whole bunch that might have a common theme to them. Have you thought about making a little ebook? A little ebook that you could give away in gratitude. Here's my thank you to all of you. For whatever. Now, is this an ebook that you carry on your website, or is this something that you're going to throw into Amazon and Kindle?
Well, one of them is one that I have on my website. And then eventually, yes, I will probably throw something up on Amazon. I haven't done it yet on that particular one. There is something that Designer has that will then translate it into, what is it, .mobi file or whatever you need. Yeah. And that's a higher price, for their subscription service. But at some point, I haven't put anything up right now on Amazon recently, but it's a great way to do it.
Well, I think I love new tools. I'm kind of a tool geek. So, I love finding new tools and playing with them a little bit to see if it works. And we're talking about Shorty, but I am going to say that if you've been blogging for a while, you've got a lot of things that have a common, in your common categories. Put them together as a sampler. and either sell it or give it away. But it's just, it's just one of those good things to have. And again, you're not reinventing the wheel, which is we're trying to save your time.
Absolutely. And then, you could market it as 5 tips, whatever it is that you pulled from your blog, because there's a ton of stuff in your blog, depending on how long you've been blogging, if it's for years, that you can then compile, and it's just another way to repurpose it. And many people may already be doing that, but what I found is I have been doing that, but when I found designer, I'm like, oh, okay, let me repurpose it again. Let's give it a new look, like you were talking about earlier. Pull out an old blog and just freshen it up a little bit and repurpose it.
And how much time does designer take? Do I need a PhD in technology?
No, but I will say, for me, there were a couple things I was doing that I was having some glitches, so it took me a bit longer. It's ideal if you first write it in your Word file and go through, and designer will give you some guidance on this to do like your bullet points and certain things, make sure everything is where you want it to be. And then even once you pour it into designer, you can still do some editing, but it's, I don't say it's like point and shoot, but it's not too difficult. You don't need a PhD to do it, because I am not techno savvy at all. People think I am, but I'm really not. So I want something that's simple, that I can just open up and kind of figure it out without reading every single instruction that they give, which of course helps if you read the instructions first, but
well,
if it's more intuitive, it's easier.
Intuitive, I vote for intuitive every minute of the day.
Yes. I agree.
It's just, you just have to learn to get a little skilled on it. I do notice on the designer, they have a table of contents creator. And a lot of, ebooks, you don't have page numbers and that, but here's an idea for you. Create a contents page and pull key words from each section, a key phrase or something, turn it into a question. A lot of people do searching for items with questions. Like when you go to the Google. So create your contents with questions, and you might get more searchability out of it, which I kind of like that idea.
Most people do.
Yeah, most people do. All right, we're going to take our final break. I can't believe that we're at our final break, Deborah. Gosh.
Time flies when we're having fun.
I know. I like to have fun. All right. So with me is Debra Jason. And you can follow her on Instagram. You can follow her on Facebook. You can follow her on LinkedIn, Twitter. She's searchable, and it's at Debra Jason. She's the author of Millionaire Marketing on a Shoestring Budget. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, so turbulent times are here. You still have books. You would like to move them, but there's just different ways to move them out. And I have to share with you, I have one of my clients who is a professional speaker. All the in-person things just dried up. She has never been so busy with all the presentations she's doing online and getting her full fee. So you can work. That's
awesome.
I know. I think it is awesome too. But it's just really putting it all together and bringing it about. So it excites me when I can see those things, happen. Debra, I want to ask a couple of tech questions that we had talked about just very quickly in these last few minutes. That you had mentioned one time when you and I were talking about a social network that just opens the door, it just delivers a gazillion opportunities. What would that be? Can you talk about that?
Oh, well, that statistic comes from LinkedIn. And what LinkedIn says is if you have a complete profile on your LinkedIn account, that you open the doors, you're 40 times more likely to receive opportunities through the network. Now, many people say, oh, well, I'm on LinkedIn. I have a profile, but they don't have what I call a robust, optimized profile. That means maybe they put up a picture and maybe they put in a job title and that was it. So, when you're looking at LinkedIn, more and more these days, everyone is going there, whether they're going to meet you in person, hopefully that day comes back, or they're going to meet you virtually. They're searching you and they're doing their due diligence before they connect with you. And LinkedIn is what usually pops up. So that puts you in a position to win or lose based on the profile they find and the activity they find on LinkedIn. So what you want to make sure you do on your LinkedIn profile is really complete the profile. And you and I have discussed this in the past. Make sure it's keyword enhanced because people will search. If they don't know your name and they don't know your company or the name of your book, what are they going to search? Are they going to search science fiction author? Because author alone is too broad. Are they going to search marketing tips? Are they going to, think about the keyword phrases? Because I've had people say, oh, well, my keyword phrase is beautiful. I'm like, well, that's nice, but that's not a keyword phrase. And to be specific, the person who said that was a gentleman who was a photographer in one of my LinkedIn workshops. And I said, well, your photography is probably beautiful, but people are not likely to be searching that word beautiful because they probably get 10 million results. So what are they searching for? Nature photography, wedding photography? Be more specific. Because then when somebody finds you, you have the opportunity to demonstrate on LinkedIn that you're an industry expert, or that you're a thought leader. And one of my favorite points is that if you have a robust and optimized profile, it enables deeper engagement with your community. Mm-hmm. Because if someone goes to your profile and there's nothing all that interesting there, or there's not much there at all, then they're going to, what I like to say is swipe left. If you're familiar with the dating world, they're going to go, oh, well, there's no picture. Why should I even look at this person? Or there's nothing really here to engage me, to draw me in and say, I want to reach out to this person. I want to connect with this person, or I want to do business with this person. So your LinkedIn profile is really important, and make sure that when you go through it, what I tell people to do is first write it all up in a Word document, because then you can cut and paste and tweak and move things around. But don't forget, to include an about section, which is probably one of the most important sections that people leave out because they don't want to take the time to do it. But the about section is a little bit about who you are as a person, but then how you help people. So take the time to fill that out. Take the time to not just put in your job title, but put in a description, which should be different than what's in your about section. The about section is a little bit about you and how you help people. Your job experience is what did you accomplish at that particular job. Okay, so share that in there, and then share skills that you have that you want people to endorse you for. Reach out to people. If you haven't received recommendations, reach out to people for recommendations. And by the way, when you get those recommendations, you can repurpose them in other social platforms and let people read what people are saying about you or about your book. So yes, LinkedIn is the one platform that can open the doors to more opportunities, 40 times more opportunities if you have a complete and robust profile.
Which is always a good idea. So that you need to, I think it's actually a good idea to go in all your profiles and just take a look at them at least once a year and do updates.
Absolutely. That's the beautiful thing about the internet is you can go in and change things.
I know. It's the plus.
It doesn't have to be stagnant. You can go in there and, update it and move things around or add things that are happening in your life, or in your business, or, you published a new book, add that to your LinkedIn profile.
Or you earned a book award.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yes. While Deborah's talking, I went in and added that one of my books has now won 9 book awards this year. So awesome. I just jumped on and do that. But that just really easy is doing that and putting it together. All right, one more last minute tip. You got one for us?
I've got another one, which is to use video. But the reason I bring up video is people say, I don't have video cameras, I don't have lights, I don't have this, I don't have that. Well, I don't either. But what most people do have are 2 platforms that don't require expensive camera equipment. And that is Facebook Live and Instagram Live. You can pick up your phone or pick up your iPad and do something. So the example I like to give is a woman who I spoke to on the phone one day. She's a meal planner, and she used to go into people's homes and either just plan meals for them or actually cook the meals for them. Well, with COVID, she could no longer do that. So what did she do? She picked up her iPhone and she started doing Facebook Live, cooking in her own kitchen, showing people the recipes.
Why not?
Yeah,
I mean, literally, why not?
It gave her more exposure. She said, I was nervous. I'm like, everyone gets nervous doing that. But she started to do it, and she did it again and again. And so then she at least was able to reach out in a compassionate way. She wasn't on there saying, hey, by the way, hire me, because right now people couldn't hire her. But she was able to share her expertise through Facebook Live. And there's a woman who's an event planner, and as you might imagine, the event industry has been suffering.
You think?
And so what she said is she said, I'm using video and other virtual means to communicate to my clients and to my tribe on a weekly basis, just so they know that I'm still here to help them. Okay, so that goes back to the compassionate marketing. She obviously couldn't say, hey, let's do an event, let's plan your next event, because those weren't happening. But she was reaching out to say, how can I help you? And she can help them now with virtual events, virtual conferences that are happening online. So she used video in order to stay in touch with them. Another way to use video, which was one way I did, was video in my emails. Okay, so there's another tool I don't know if you're familiar with called Cloud HQ. Again, there's a free version and a paid version.
Is that the CLOUD?
Yes, CLOUD, Cloud, and then the letters HQ.
Got it.
And you open up your email, and this is in Google. I'm not sure if it's available, in Gmail. But there's a little camera. You click on it, and you can start to record a video that's in your email. Someone doesn't have to click to go to YouTube to see your video. It's in your email. And so, in January, I was reaching out to a lot of event planners and conferences about speaking live. Well, in March, I didn't want to start messaging them going, hey, are you going to hire me? Are you going to hire me? Because they didn't even know if they were going to have a conference. Mm-hmm. So I sent an email, and the email video that was in there just said, kind of like my friend, the event planner. I'm like, how are you doing? If there's anything I can, and I said, it must be challenging for you right now, and you're probably not sure what's happening with your conference. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. It didn't say, what's happening? Are you hiring me to speak? It just said, let me know if there's some way I could help. It was a very short video, but it's a great tool to just put in your email, and they can see your face talking to them instead of just a blanket email that has your words. Mm-hmm. So it's another way to use video that doesn't require any fancy equipment.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I think it's a Gmail exclusive.
I'll have to find it. I'll look for it and send it to you. But yeah, it is probably a Chrome extension.
Right. Well, good old Chrome.
Yes.
For those of us who are using other resources on that, but it's a great way to do it. I think what you have to do is remember, if you're going to use videos and transferring them this way, keep them short. I can't emphasize that enough, because number one, they're watching up. They're probably not going to have headphones on. So other people could be hearing what you're saying. So be careful, keep it business. If it's, they're directly, if they're working out of their home, they're safer. But when others, it's trouble. Debra Jason, we are out of time. So thank you again.
Well, thank you again for the invitation to be here. It's been awesome as always.
You're welcome. All right, everyone, have a great week. Happy writing, good publishing, and absolutely fabulous marketing to you.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week,